want to talk about conservation, but what does that mean? Conservation describes the careful utilization of natural resources in order to prevent depletion. The term covers measures to preserve ecosystems and restore disturbed ecological interrelationships. Conservation is based on the value of nature itself and the knowledge that destruction and overuse, just like the associated reduction in biodiversity, can have dramatic consequences for the natural balance, ultimately leading to unusability. Hence, the aim is to strengthen biological networks so that all participating systems, naming ecosystems, living creatures, and habitats as examples, can regenerate naturally and be preserved if future generations should still be able to use them.
As humans, we rely on a functioning environment and ecosystem in every aspect of our life. Destroying these results in us not only compromising our own lives, but also those of everyone who comes after us. At the very least, we have a responsibility to preserve nature for those future generations.
In these vital economy systems, animals play a major part. Protecting their population therefore directly affects our own. But that's not all. If we kill animals, we are required by law to show that we have a good reason. So doesn't that indicate animals have a right to live? And on account of that, we need to protect them as well. And I think we have a moral obligation to keep those safe who are only endangered by threats we created.
So if we would stop viewing our Earth as simply a resource, we would see what an amazing influence nature can have on our body and mentality. Conservation doesn't only save the planet, it gives us back life quality. So what is our responsibility regarding conservation? It's preserving a healthy environment for ourselves, a sheltered habitat for animals, and a life worth living for our children and grandchildren.
Being an environmentally friendly person isn't always that easy, and nobody's perfect. Today we want to give you some tips on how you can contribute to the preservation of our nature. If you go grocery shopping, you can use bags like these instead of plastic bags, and instead of single-use plastic, you can use something like this for your leftovers so you can eat them later on. You can even visit a zero-waste store if you want to. The most important thing is to consume everything that you bought.
Important for a healthy lifestyle and a healthy planet is eating less meat. Trying to buy sustainable and fresh organic products from your region.
It is always better to eat more seasonal and regional food like meat, vegetables and fruits. You can avoid long supply chains and support your locals at the same time. Win-win situation, right?
One point which is easy to implement is walk somewhere. Walking is not only good for the environment, it's also good for your physical and mental health. For longer distances you can use a bike. When there is no other option than using a car, try to avoid unnecessary trips or use the public transportation system.
One another point to support our environment is to separate your waste. If you do it in the right way, you have the chance to save valuable, limited resources, which enables recycling. A lot of plastic can't be recycled because of the wrong separation, and it ends up, for example, in the sea. You probably know pictures of turtles which are wrapped in plastic. This is our fault due to wrong waste separation. Please inform yourself and do it right.
The easiest thing ever is if you use Ecosia instead of Google, and you will plant some trees just by searching through the internet.
Since the first spark of life on Earth emerged billions of years ago, there has been a sensitive balance between all living things on our precious pale blue dot. Animals and plants have always relied on each other for food. But we have managed to massively disrupt this circle of life in only the last couple hundred years in a way that is unsustainable. This could not only end life on our beautiful home, but also destroy our environment in the process. Almost everyone is aware of these issues, but very few care. The problem is not the lack of information, but the lack of motivation. The kind of awareness we need to spread is one of decisive action.
Here is a sample of polystyrene, world's number 3 of the most abandoned plastics. You all know it, it comes in this foamed up form and is used, for instance, in insulation or as packaging material. Problem with this stuff is, like for most of the other plastics we have on this planet, it can't be broken down by nature, at least not within reasonable time. But it turns out they actually can. Here, come and take a look. These are the larvae of the beetle Tenebrio molitor, and they can actually eat polystyrene. We want to utilize their ability in our project. Alright, so the second thing I want to tell you about is a special substance which can also be made by certain type of bacteria. It's acetone. Acetone actually is a great solvent for polystyrene. Here, have a look. Okay, so the core idea of our project is to isolate the bacteria of the intestines of Tenebrio molitor, and then we want to equip it with the ability to produce acetone, which in total will give it the ability to weaken the polymer structure of the polystyrene and more efficiently digest polystyrene.
When you think of plastic in the environment, what comes to your mind first? Plastic pollution in the environment affects wildlife and nature. The ocean, beaches and lakes, for example, are flooded with plastics, which harms a lot of species. Especially marine animals can be injured by mechanical effects, such as entanglement in plastic objects like nets. Turtles and seagulls mistake plastic particles for food, which cannot be digested and leads to them dying of starvation. The WWF estimates that by 2050, plastic waste in the ocean will take up more space than all the fish spawns in the world together. Solely the ingestion of plastic particles kills an estimated 1 million marine birds and 100,000 marine animals each year. Almost 700 species, including endangered ones, are affected by plastics.
We conduct basic research in the field of biological degradation of plastics. By improving the natural properties of mealworms, we can actively contribute to the rescue of endangered species on our planet. With our approach, we try to minimize the threat to animals from plastic that has already been released into nature. In the future, our strategy could help to remove plastic from food chains. In addition, the reduction helps to prevent especially marine life from ending up in life-threatening traps. Thus, our iGEM project makes an important contribution to the conservation of nature and wildlife. Not only do we reduce the existing dangers, but we also focus on the most biological and ecological degradation possible in order not to cause any further damage.
With the help of iGEM, we can connect to other teams from around the world to see what they're doing and get some help and inspiration on how to plan our project and get things done. For these difficult times of social distancing, iGEM gives us a platform to do so, and by talking to other students with the same problems to not lose hope. We're very thankful that iGEM gives us the opportunity to get into the lab and to work on our project of a biological plastic breakdown. Through the category Human Practices, we get to connect to the industry and some environmental organizations to get an even closer look on the problems the world is facing right now. With this information given, we can develop our project to be even better by trying to solve plastic pollution and therefore contribute to conservation. Together with the iGEM team and with other teams, we can make a great difference on the world, and we're happy to be a part of it.
We all know the pictures of the ocean with the great circles of plastics floating around. Scientists can investigate, scientists can contribute knowledge, and scientists can find solutions for these kind of problems. And there are different approaches to tackle this kind of problem, which is actually plastic pollution. We are tackling the polystyrene, and basically the concept is very smart and can be seen here. And at the end of the day, we hope to give at least a little more insight and can find a solution to get rid of the damn plastic in our environment.